so I'm back from a very, very long trip. I was in Europe and I was part of VC's Forum 2018. It was a very, very interesting meetup whereby people across the globe, especially in the telecom sector, were there to discuss about the mandate by United Nations, how to achieve the goals to make this world a better place to live in, how to energize people and have that happy factor. Gender equality was one of the main pointers, but today I'm going to discuss more about virtual currencies and what Indian government is trying to do by avoiding and stopping virtual currencies. On 6th of April, what happened was the RBI has come up with its guidelines which says virtual currencies are banned in India and no financial sector will take part in this mode of payment. What is important here is to understand why the concept of virtual currency is in place, what is blockchain, and I think understanding of blockchain and virtual currency is being used and twisted as and when required by entities across the globe. So it's not only in India, I think this is a problem which all the governments across the globe are facing. So to start with, I would be talking about big data today, why big data is so important in the current era and why companies like Facebook are facing a problem from the government authorities. We need to understand once everybody is online, there's a lot of data is being generated because the user experience which internet provides you, it generates a lot of data. When I say data, it means the kind of searches you're performing. It's basically reading your mind in a different manner altogether, and companies across the globe use that data to drive their business verticals. So, what is important here is to understand is big data is the new mining oil, and as suggested, since it's a mining oil, a lot can be done with the big data. However, why only Facebook is facing this problem? The question we need to answer, or the question every human mind or every human being should ask themselves, is it not that Google is using the big data to drive customers to purchase XYZ? Why only Zuckerberg is being used as a bait to change the whole scenario or the whole ecosystem, how the big data analysis is being used? We know there are some problems or the privacy issues are not taken care into. When we talk about the population of this world, it's almost more than 8 billion people living on this planet Earth. India itself has a population of 1.35 billion people. How to even analyze the data and what is right and what is wrong to decide is very, very difficult. I think technology, law have to integrate in the sense a lot has been done with the big data. Big data is used to drive the consumer experience. We as business entities term it as consumer experience, but at the same point of time, it is being used to drive the emotional quotient of every human being to do what may or may not be right for that person. I presented one of my papers at Singapore Management Universities, which talked about the blue whale concept, the whole game which actually led to the death of young students, young people across the globe, not only in India. So, what is important here is to analyze it when we say everybody has to come online or everybody should be on internet at the same point of times. It is going to give rise to many of the problems which needs to be solved today itself. That is the emotional quotient. I have been talking about emotional quotient at the Singapore University. Then I also talked about emotional quotient, how innovations can be used to drive emotional quotient. At the same point of time, we need to draw a line today itself before it's too late, because when the damage is done, there won't be any solution, and we need to find a solution today. There's a very well known concept of shadow pricing. Let me talk about what is shadow pricing. Shadow pricing is valuation assignment given to intangible asset. Now, when we say intangible asset, even as a co-founder, when I'm a founding member of any of the firms, I bring a lot of assets, the kinds of contacts I bring. So, how to evaluate those assets? So, the question which needs to be answered is only Facebook responsible to analyze the data or leakage of data? I think once you're online, I keep on speaking this, and I had a chat with authorities across the globe, with the UN people, with the ICANN people, with the IT ministers, and not only India but across the globe. They were present at the VCs Forum 2018, whereby we need to sort this out. How to even evaluate that? At the same time, the evaluation is very, very important. There is no matrix to evaluate how the evaluation should happen. So these are the metrics which needs to be taken into consideration. And my personal take on what's happening with Zuckerberg, or what can happen to any of the business entities, is yes, Zuckerberg has the maximum voting right. He's a young person. I think there would be a point whereby Facebook would be taken over by the government authorities. I think it's just a playing field. It's more of what you as an individual is trying to portray themselves on an online media. Many people have followers in millions and trillions, and I think as an emotional quotient of that person, until unless you don't have follow of million and trillion people, you're not a celebrity. But let me tell you, this concept of celebrity is totally different nowadays. We are not in an era where XYZ person was not reachable. In today's world, everyone is reachable. Even we are reachable to our Prime Minister Modi. We are reachable to any person in this world. Luxury at one point of time was owned by only few people. I came across and I met a very, very intellectual person who has more than 500 patent applications in his name. He is almost equal to Steve Jobs. And the basic concept which I learned from him is he defined the term luxury. And I think the way he explained me what luxury is all about, my mindset has changed drastically. And the term luxury means different things for different people. As a woman, we feel very happy when we have a Dolce Gabbana dress, or we own a Louis Vuitton, or we own a Gucci bag. But luxury is not these things. End of the day, is just a PVC material, or a material, or it's a leather which is being owned by people across the globe. Even the counterfeits are being developed for a cheaper price. But how to define the word luxury? I think luxury can be defined, or it should be defined, as the ownership of anything which, when you purchase, increases with time. So, my intent of discussing the luxury part was is to own the ownership, and at the same point of time we should understand the emotional quotient is being played when we talk about the word luxury. If we only talk about Facebook right now, if we see the customer database in India, Facebook has 250 million users itself, and I think that's a huge number. And the kind of data which is being derived, the kind of suggestions Facebook is making, it's using its AI, that is the artificial intelligence algorithm, which is being utilized to understand the human mind. And a lot of patent applications are being filed by Facebook, and the patents are being granted in India. Even the Section 3K, which says softwares are not patentable. However, when you claim it as a device or as a handheld device, software can be patented because you're using it as a device. And nowadays, everything is coming preloaded, so it's part of the device. And anyhow, the concept of patent is also going to change. There was a time when the concept of patent was introduced. There was no one who was actually working in the IT sector. So there's no harm giving a patent to a company until unless there is some kind of monopoly which is being played by the company. I think one has to work in a holistic view. A lot of cross licensing, in licensing, and out licensing deals would be seen in India in the IT sector also in years to come. Another very good example why investment should be done in India is the best matrix is how many people visit India. Right now itself, Delhi airport is among the busiest in the world. It ranks number 16. The Indira Gandhi National Airport, many people across the globe come to India to understand the ecosystem of doing business. And I think understanding the ecosystem of any business vertical is to make the life of human beings easier. The ecosystem has to develop in a manner where any foreign entity can enter India and do business. So, how the financial sector is working right now is one party is in need of capital and the another is willing to lend money. So this was a basic concept which has been followed by zamindars in India over and all from 17th, 18th and 19th century. If you keep the money in bank, your percentage on is like from 3.5 to 8%. The maximum it can go to 9%. However, when a person or a company or is lending money, you earn a profit of 11 to 20%. What is happening right now when we are using blockchain technology or we are using virtual currency? The middleman is being cut. So there is no middleman. Even the payment gateway system is, you don't have to pay any middleman currency to anyone and you can do the transactions. What is important here to understand why the government is coming with an RBI guideline where everybody were foreseeing that India might come up with its own currency. Lakshmi was in talks in news. However, Reliance was also planning to come up with its own coin. But what is important here is to understand is the concept of financial sector or concept of blockchain or concept of virtual currency is understanding the nuances, understanding know your customer, who are your customers, how to protect anti-money laundering, how to protect counter-terrorism. Moreover, elections are being foreseen in India. So even any government who would be in power right now in India won't like there should be any kind of transaction using virtual currencies. So I think though this move has been done, I personally believe it's a temporary move. And as in when countries across the globe come up with its own laws, India will adopt that with little tweaks, because doing business in any country is different. Because it's not only doing business, you need to understand the mindset of the people. There are endless opportunities when we use blockchain technologies. A lot of technologies will be developed in the blockchain sector. And what is important here is to understand the mandate of 2020. The way I foresee and the way I analyze everything, not only in India but across the globe, I foresee in the year 2020 or by the year 2020, no taxes would be collected from individuals in India. This is what I foresee, and this is what I have understood by talking to ministers across the globes. I have analyzed a lot of parameters, and what I foresee is there are two type of taxes. You have direct taxes and indirect taxes. India is adopting GST. Even GST is being adopted for petrol pricing and other entities. It's very difficult to control 1.3 billion population. However, taxes would be taken in the form of indirect taxes, and there would be a point of time in India where the individuals won't have to pay tax, and that's where the GDP is going to increase in India. And I think by 2020, things would be in a much better manner. Things can happen before that also. But the energy booster right now is Modi is being praised by everyone across the globe. At least somebody is taking the initiative of going in every country and telling them to come and invest in India. Any foreign entity invest in India, that gives rise to jobs. And when there's a job creation, there will be more employment. If there will be more employment, more people will be staying back in India to make this country a better place to live. So the idea of today's video was just to touch base about how virtual currency is going to change in near future. I foresee it is going to come up with its laws very soon once things are settled out across the globe. Everybody right now is trying to figure out what is the best way forward to make these transactions more legalized. Because when we are paying through PayPal and other commodities, we end up paying 70 to 8% of the transaction cost. So we need to save those transaction costs. So I'm pretty hopeful, and I believe things would be better in years to come. And a lot of innovation is going to happen in the blockchain technology. And let's see how India is able to attain that mandate by 2020 or maybe by 2030. A lot has to be done in India, and you, me, and everyone would be part of this whole scenario. And I'm pretty pleased to be part of the whole ecosystem. So if you have any questions related to blockchain in India or blockchain technology, how to use blockchain technology, or you want to understand the concept of virtual currency being used in blockchain technology, I'll be happy to assist. Put your questions in the comment box below, or you can send a direct message to me. I'm Pretty Khastigar, and you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. Have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.